We're on step 180 here. In our previous step, we had put on the fins and put on the fin fillets right here. I've gone ahead and sanded everything. If you can work ahead and sand as you go, it's going to make things a lot quicker towards the end. So in this step, we're going to put on the completed elevons. So previously we had built these, and these are going to be installed right here in the slots on the boat tail. I'm going to test fit it first into the slots, make sure that they go in. And if it doesn't go in, just go ahead and clean those out a little bit with an X-Acto knife. Scrape it on the edges a little bit. Okay, so now that goes in. And then what we're going to do is, it goes this way with this counterweight. I think it's called an anti-flutter weight. And then this little piece of wood goes into the slot. So you might also check the slot and make sure that the piece of wood goes into the slot. And if it doesn't, just go ahead and take a file, or you can take sandpaper, bend it in half, and just sand it out so that it goes in. And then we'll put it in place. Okay, just like that. Check to make sure that this is down against the boat tail. Then we're going to take some CA and just tack it in place, and then put a CA right there as well. Yeah, that looks pretty good. We're on step 181, and we're going to install these flanges from the injection molded parts. There's 8 of them, and they're mirror images of each other. So we're going to cut those off, and we'll clean up the sprue here, just that little tip on there. Okay, so these go right here, and you'll see they're mirror images of each other. We don't want it like this. We want it like that, this one. So this one will go on this side of the fin, and this one will go on the other side. And there's a beveled edge, and that little corner right there goes on the edge of the fin, and it goes right in front of the other plastic piece. So just align it like that, and you'll see it almost matches that edge right there on the fin. And then I'm just going to put a drop of CA and let it wick under. And I got to get the other side as well. Okay, so that's one side, and then let me show you the other. I'm checking the back edge right there. Put it in place. And go ahead and do that for all 4 fins. And step 182 is to take the hatch. And remember our hatch that we had made before. That's installed here. Just make sure everything's dry. Make sure you got all your fillets down. And then the hatch will go in like this. You'll just tuck it underneath, drop it down. And then there's a removable plastic rivet right here. You just push that into the hole. I mean, it's in 2 pieces, so here's the base part. I'll push the base part in first. And then you put the plunger in, and that will lock it in place. All right, so now it can't come off. And you have the option of painting the rocket with this on or painting it with it off. Paint doesn't really stick to that plastic piece because that's like polypropylene or polyethylene, but it will stick everywhere else. So that was step 182. Step 183 is to take the nose cone. Yay, we're almost done with most of the stuff. And we're going to test fit it. So we're going to take a look at it right here, put it on, and we're going to look for any gaps. So I've got a gap in that one there. This one is pretty good. That one is also pretty good, and that one's pretty good. So what we're going to do, remember we saved some balsa wood. So here's a piece of balsa wood. And what we're going to do is we're just going to glue it onto the bottom of the one that's short. So we're just going to cut off a strip. Okay, I'm going to find out which one was short. Okay, so we're going to take this one, and we're going to glue it on there like that. And if you're smart, you might want to like pre-sand it or pre-cut it. And just cut it big because it's easier to sand it off. Alright, and it's probably too thick. So we're going to glue it on there like that. And then we're going to sand it. I'm going to use a file because it's a little bit more precise than the sanding block. I'm almost guaranteed that's going to be too tall now. So now we'll have to sand the bottom. Yeah, so yeah, we're way tall. So I'll sand until we get a good fit. And that will be step 183. And then go on to perping the recovery system. So we're getting really close. There's a little bit more to do, but we're getting real close. We're now on this step where we're going to install the Nike booster recovery system. So at this point, everything is painted up, although you don't have to be, but might as well. I'm going to pop out the shock cord out of there. All right. Untangle it, make sure it's no knots in there. Then what we want to do is we want to make a loop that's approximately 7 inches long. And that loop has to make sure that we can get over the top of the inner stage. That looks good. And we're going to, before we do that, we're going to take the heat shield and we're going to cut this buttonhole so that we can pass the shock cord through there, because that has to be on there first, and eventually that's going to be shoved into the tube, and I'm going to double loop it so it stays in place, and I can adjust that loop later. So right now I'm going to shove that in there. All right, so now we're going to make our loop here. Again, I only need it just big enough to get over the top of this transition. All right, that looks good. And then I'm going to tie a knot in this. And I want to try to push that knot down as close to the edge of that piece of line that I can. All right, now we're going to take a piece of heat shrink tubing and cut it about 1 inch long. And we're going to put it over the end of this. And that just makes it so that we don't have much to get caught, so nothing hangs up. Okay, right there. And then I'm going to heat it, and I'm just going to use a lighter. You can use a heat gun if you have one. All right, I'm going to get it in place, and then since I'm right-handed, I'm going to flip it around. Be careful doing this. You don't want to light it on fire. The Kevlar is going to be fine because that is very fire resistant. So that looks pretty good right there. Step 186 is we're going to take this and we're going to pull the loop out of one of the couplers. We're going to pass it through that loop. And then we're going to go over the top and pull it tight. There we go. Just like that. So now if you need to detach it, you can just pull that loop and go back over the top, and you can take it apart. 187, we're going to take the 24-inch nylon parachute, which is this one here. Separate the lines. I'm going to open it up because there's something unique about the Apogee chutes, and that's that we do the lines so that you don't have any twists in them. Okay, that's my middle line. This is the edge. That's an edge. So if you look at them, we go this corner to that corner, and then this one all the way across here. And the reason we do that is if you lay them across your hand, none of them are twisted. Okay, so now pull it tight like that. I'm going to take that loop there, and we can either attach it to this loop or that loop. It doesn't really matter. I think I'll attach it to this one. Pull that loop, and then we're going to pass it through. And pull that tight. Make sure that all these are equal over here before you pull it tight. This is step 188. We're going to hold this as tight as we can and then wrap these really tight around there. We ain't got much room inside of that tube. All right, and then this, you could do the daisy chain like I like to do, or you can do the tape method that I did a video on recently. Okay, so all that's going to be shoved into there along with our parachute. Okay, so that goes on there like that. And at that point, if you haven't finished your rocket, doing all the painting, that's a good time to do it. I still haven't put my decals on, but I'll do that a little bit later once I'll do all the whole rocket by itself. All right, so that's getting the booster stage ready for its recovery system.